Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And today we're taking a look at from Transformers Legacy Evolution Wave 4. This is Cyberverse Universe Shadow Striker. Now I'm starting the review off a little bit differently because I just wanted to show um, just how cool the articulation is, especially in the hips of this figure, that you can do the full 10 plus Van Damme split. So that's really nice. Plenty of clearance there. Now, I know there was a lot of people who were not looking forward to this figure, namely because the fact that once Shadow Striker was revealed, it was clearly obvious this was a retool of a soon to be released Sideburns figure from Robots in Disguise 2001. Um, Now, that is true, but also, as many people have pointed out, that mold was actually retooled and repainted to create what I believe to be the original Shadow Striker toy, which was part of the Transformers Collectors Club convention exclusive. So, honestly, calling this a from the Cyberverse universe isn't exactly correct. It really should be considered more of a general universe figure or the convention. Now, obviously, I don't think due to legal reasons they can say convention universe or Transformers Collectors Club universe, or I don't think they want to use the universe name entirely since that actually might be the next third part of the Legacy trilogy. Um, so there's that. Now, looking over animation models for Shadow Striker, since we never really got a proper deluxe or warrior toy for the character, and looking over the original toy and animation models for Sideburn, I can tell you that that basically 99% of this mold is Sideburn. The weapon, the accessories are all Sideburn. The weapon, the little front part here, the shield, um, the legs are entirely sideburn. The position of the wheels, the thinness of them. Uh, the chest here, all sideburn. The wheels on the back in this position, um, that is uh, that is actually Shadow Striker. The door panels here, I think that's just a necessity for for the mold. The head is obviously Shadow Striker. Now, there is one thing you can do to maybe make the figure look a little more asymmetrical, and that is to remove the front here, actually that's the bumper, and put it on the forearm. And that is something shown in the instructions. Now, uh, other than that, really, unfortunately, this does not capture that asymmetrical look of the Cyberverse Shadow Striker outside of the head here, which does have that targeting scope. Now, as I mentioned, the accessories are predominantly, well, not predominantly, but are um, are all sideburns. First, you have this roof shield piece. Now, the original toy is on that arm, and it can be placed on that arm, but in the instructions here it is shown that it is placed on this arm. Now, I don't know if that now thinking about the transformation, it really doesn't matter. So I wonder when we do get sideburn, is the shield going to be on this arm? The next part is the little handgun here, which, if you remember, besides the big missile launcher, Sideburn had a little like shiv weapon that was a blaster and a shiv. Well, this is a much more stylized version of that and can be held as a shiv. I mean, the blade is there. It's fortunately not picked out with paint or anything, but that definitely is. This is what this is meant to represent. And as you saw in the beginning, by combining the bumper piece with the gun, you get a very modern approximation of that old missile launcher. Now, one thing I do need to mention is this front piece and that roof piece, as well as the gun, all come detached in the packaging, connected to wrapped in tissue paper. And don't be like me. Make sure you unwrap the tissue paper all the way, um, because I almost didn't see the roof piece there. Also, obviously, this and this are necessary to complete the car. One last thing before we get into the transformation. Again, this is something from Sideburn. You have to remove this piece, but the small blaster does have storage right there in vehicle mode. Also, there is a hole right there in the back that, if you so desire, you can store the shield. But for transformation, the shield needs to be on one of the arms, and I would keep this piece like on the other arm just so you don't lose it. But what we'll do now is just get into the transformation. Now I'm going to show you robot to vehicle because there is one step that the instructions make look way harder than it needs to be, and it has to do with the legs. So to get into the start the transformation, you want to flip the shield up. It is on a double hinge, and it is great for like play value and stuff. You can get a lot of different positions out of it. Make sure that the larger section of the painted purple plastic is facing towards the shoulder, up towards the shoulder to the head. Next, straighten the arms out. And I do want to mention that the arms are actually pegged into the back section here and not into the main torso. I'm not saying that's bad or anything, just it's not something I've seen before. Next, what you want to do is flip this section out and then telescope it up. It's a large double hinge section, but remove the blaster. And you also want to go ahead and just flip up the door panels. So you end up with like a very tall figure. And I kind of want to say that's very indicative to how the car brother Prowl from Robots in Disguise transformed. Like there was like a large hinge there. Next, what you want to do is come in here, and we're going to fold the the wheels and that arm section forward. That's actually a nice little trick there. That's kind of cool. So you've got that done, and we can come down now and focus on this section. First thing you want to do is go ahead and flip up the feet, just like that. Have them sitting flush. Bring uh, bring down these panels here, and then flip them out forward. Now and while you're doing that, also come in the middle, and there's like a little panel here that's going to flip up. Now, there's been some speculation that these panels are going to be changed for Sideburn to make it look more like the Dodge Viper. I don't know. And now we're at the point of the transformation where I differ with the instructions. The instructions show you flipping the legs up, which we're going to do, but then pegging them into place at this tab here, and then the foot will go into the tab right up here. I would not do that yet. Let's just get the legs in position. And the reason is there are little tabs here on the front of the wheel wells that are meant to connect into uh, the front of the headlights there. And it's a lot easier to push that section down into position before you peg the legs in. Once that's done, go ahead and kind of finagle and push the legs into place. Um, and just like that, you want to push down and in, and that will get the legs here at the calf to peg into those posts, and then just come up here and peg the feet in to those tabs right there. We're just about done. To finish this off, um, first thing you want to do, bring the arm down like this, and it will sort of peg into place on some tab on the inside. Kind of hard to see when you're, especially on this arm with the shield, but just get it lined up, close up the panels here, and what's next now is you're going to fold the car panel down, and then it'll peg into 4 spots, 2 and 2 here, and then finally come around the back. You've got the rear section here, 2 tabs and a post, 2 slots and a 2 tabs and a slot, 2 slots and a post. Just push it in. Now this back section does sit up a little. I guess that's maybe supposed to be a fin or something. There's no way to like get it down further, well, unless I'm completely missing something. But I think that gap is intentional. And there you have Shadow Striker in its robot mode. The instructions show the weapon can store up here. There is no storage underneath. Um, but instead, if you really want a little something more inconspicuous, you can, of course, peg it into the rear like that. Now, obviously, the exposed engine is sideburn, but a lot of this vehicle mode does feel like looks more like what Shadow Striker did in the Cyberverse cartoon, which means there might be some retooling. I think this roof section is going to stay, but there might be some retooling to the doors and maybe this front section here. Who knows? Like I said, in robot mode, 99% of it is sideburn. That has to do with this really being that an homage to the Transformers Collectors Club release of the figure. So there is that. But I do think it's really fun. I mean, for all that telescope, that folding out, you do end up with a rather small car. That's kind of cool. And obviously, this is a much easier transformation than that original Robots in Disguise figure. Now, let me go ahead and take you back into robot mode. Go ahead, remove the weapon, remove the bumper section. Let's just go ahead and actually, we're going to leave that separate since this is really Sideburns' weapon. We're just going to put that off the side. But again, you see, if you lose this part, you're going to have all that open. And if you lose the roof, you're going to have that whole top section exposed. I'd like to see Hasbro make figures that have a complete vehicle mode and then add the accessories on top of that instead of trying to integrate accessories that could be lost over time. That could be just me. Go ahead and bring up the roof here. Just double hinge it up. Open these side panels. There we go. Get the arm out of the way. Get the arm out of the way. There we go. Now, getting the legs undone can be a little tricky, but you want to just unpeg them here, and then you can actually swivel them forward while they're still pegged in. They'll just unpeg like that, and they do kind of hook into like the actual hip joint. So there we go. There we go. Once you get both freed up, it'd be a little easier to bring up there we go, that chest section. So you want to bring those legs down just like that, flip the feet out. And now what you want to do is bring up this middle panel, fold it into place, but then hook these side bits around, close up the chest, but you want to don't fold them up all the way because they're going to go over those black haunches, and this will help secure it into place, just like so. Now we come up to the top here. We're going to fold the arms back. Those wheel wells will peg into place with some tabs. Bring the back panel down, and you want to fold it up. There's a tab there, slot in that main section, and then there's a tab there, slot in that other section. That closes that up. Bring the arms down, fold that shield, and you basically want it longer in the back and shorter in the front. Take this onto the forearm. There's the blaster. And there you go. Robot mode. Like I said, it's a very easy uh, transformation compared to the original Sideburn toy. And I do like the look, but I do agree that um, it really should not have been called a Cyberverse release. And that because a lot of people were hoping for getting like a really good release of uh, Shadow Striker from the show because I think we got a Scout toy that was a gimmick, and then you had an Ultra Class one, which was very much a gimmick. We never really got like an articulated uh, deluxe or even a warrior version of the figure. So there is that. Um, so I think that's about it. We will pause and come back with my final thoughts. Shadow Striker is a really solid figure, and I quite enjoy um, the transformation and just the tactile feel. And the articulation is brilliant. I mean, to be able to do the splits like that is really cool. Unfortunately, if I'm being honest, we all know that this is a retool of Cyber. Now, people like to use the phrase pre-tool, this is the first. No, this is basically much like Detritus, Hasbro trying to squeeze out a little bit more of the money from a mold first. Because, if I'm being honest, I don't really know if I would have picked this figure up if Sideburn was released first. Just because there's not enough here separating it from Sideburn and not enough of what I know Shadow Striker to look like to make me that would make me interested. As it is now, like I said with Detritus, I got this figure because it was part of the case assortment, and it was cheaper to buy all four figures at once than buying them separately, since the retailer, CommandStore.com, um, will price the individual figures differently. Now, you might have a different experience. You might be really excited for this figure and want to grab it as soon as you can, which is great. Transformation is solid, not a lot of issues. Just when you're going into car mode, follow my trick. You'll have a little bit of an easier time that way. Um, and who knows, and next year or whenever, because that's the thing, we don't know when Sideburn is coming. We know it's sort of been leaked in terms of an internal listing, but I mean, that could be over a year away, which kind of annoys me from a review standpoint. That means I have to kind of make sure Shadow Striker here is kept on hand for comparisons, and that just that just irks me. But that's a my problem, not a your problem. I like the color scheme, I like the mold, but if I had the option, I would have just bought Sideburn and not gotten this, or waited until it was significantly discounted. So that's about it for the review. Hope I helped you make a decision. If you like this review, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps with the algorithms with YouTube to promote my channel. I do have a Patreon. It is www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. All I ask for is $1 a month, $12 a year. No thrills, no tiers, no special rewards. All you're doing is helping me help you to bring figures like this to you, as well as keeping up the infrastructure of the channel. But as I always say, if you can't afford the $1 a month or $12 a year, your views are more than thanks enough. Patreon is just the cherry on top of an already generous sundae. So that's about it. Once again, this is your old pal Chuck for Shadow Striker. We will see you next time.